welcome to Agoraphobia. This is a new series that I'm starting to teach you how to play Paragon in general. It will start with the basics, what is it exactly, it's a MOBA, and we'll work our way up all the way through hero guides and specific strategies, all the way to the very advanced stuff. So basically, it's a MOBA. You've seen the term thrown around a lot. It generally at this point means a builder style of game. At the moment, there's of course only one map, which is the main style of MOBA map you'll see in other MOBAs such as Dota 2, League of Legends, Smite, whatever you've played before. These generally consist of 3 lanes. In League and Dota, it's top, mid, and bot. But in a game like Paragon, it's left, mid, and right. That's the main difference. You can compare left to top lane. You'll hear people call left top lane and right bot lane, but it is traditionally left, mid, right. In between these lanes, there's jungle. These have jungle minions and camps that people farm. They'll be on each side of the map. On the bottom half is your team's jungle if you're the bottom team, and if you're on the top, then top team, top half of the jungle is yours. You'll be classed as your jungle, but it's still a neutral area. Enemies will be able to go in there with ease because there'll be nothing protecting them going in there. Of course, wards and things come into this, but we'll talk about wards later and into more advanced mechanics. So, down these lanes, minions will travel from your base, from your core, your main objective. These minions will progress through the lanes until they hit the enemy minion wave, or the enemy tower, or the enemy inhibitor, or the enemy core, as they make their way down the lane. Depends how hard you push them. These minions function in several ways. There's range minions, melee minions, siege minions, and super minions. You'll have melee minions. They deal physical damage. They don't do much damage, but they take a lot of damage. You've got range minions that deal energy damage. They do a lot more damage, but can't take as much damage. And siege minions, which do a bit of both. They do energy damage, but they're a lot more durable than ranged, and still deal as much damage as range. You only generally get 1 per every other minion wave. So, minions. You need to last hit them. You get extra gold in Dota 2 and League, but in Paragon you get card XP, which is a different mechanic, again, go over later. So, they also give normal XP, level up your hero as you level up your abilities in-game. As you progress through the lane, you'll have towers. You've got your outer tower, inner tower, and in games like League and Dota you have an inhibitor tower, or barracks tower in Dota. This tower protects a main structure, or main structures, that you'll kill to get super minions. So you'll start with the outer. You've got an outer rim towers, 1 in each lane, both sides, inner for both sides. Then in Paragon, you have an inhibitor tower, which is a tower and an inhibitor all in one, unlike League. So you'll kill this tower, and then your lane will... You won't get an extra super minion, like in League, you get an extra super minion to your wave. In Dota, killing the barracks buffs the minions up. In this, you just get 4 super minions instead of the normal minion wave. These still only give 100 CXP each, like normal minions, so you get less CXP in each minion wave, so less gold, so you're lessening their income. And not only that, they one-shot other minions and do a lot of damage to players and will take down structures with ease. Now, the jungle. There's jungle camps. These jungle camps, again, give CXP and XP. You start with the basic white ones. Each white minion gives as much XP as a normal in-lane creep minion. They're very easy to kill. You have 4 in each jungle, 4 camps, so 2 in each camp, so that's 8 in each camp, that's 16 overall. You have 2 camps in each quarter, and with these 2, there's also a buff camp in each quarter. You'll have blue on one side of the map, and red on the other side of the map. Red buff and blue buff are stronger. They also have 2 white minions in each camp, but they'll also have the buff minion that will give significant amounts of XP, as much as a whole minion wave, 600, or a standard minion wave without the siege minion, and also drop a buff for your player. We'll go over buffs when we discuss the jungle in detail. Then we've got the main camps in the middle. We've got on one side the black buff. Black buff is again another buff that has 2 white camps with it, 2 white minion camps, and the black buff itself, which also gives a fair amount of XP, but also the black buff, which we'll go over in the jungle video. And then across the other side of the map, still in the middle, is the Prime. In its own big bit, it's a big gummy bear looking minion, basically, because they haven't done the textures, but eventually it will have its own model and things, and it has its own unique abilities. It's very difficult to take down. You won't be doing this too early on without some advanced strategy that I'll have to go over later, but basically, once you kill this, you drop the Prime Orb, and it functions very different to Baron in League and Roshan in Dota, and the Molten Giant in Smite, whereas you don't just kill it and get a buff or an item, you have to pick up the buff itself, the orb, and that person has to carry it to a certain place on the map, which is sort of the opposite corner on the enemy side of the map, and you have to go deliver it into a little area where you will then activate your Prime card, which is a card you'll put into your deck, which will go over in deck building. Along with these objectives, there's also harvesters. These are meant to replace such as the dragon in League, and is a general CXP objective, so gold gain objective. You will have 2 in your jungle, 2 in the enemy jungle. On either side next to the buffs, you'll have 1 on the far left, 1 on the far right, and there's also 1 in the prime pit, which gives CXP in half the time, so it fills up. So what you do is you buy a key at base usually. You can place harvesters without a key. It takes about 25 seconds, not worth the time. But if you buy a key, it can reduce down to 6 or even 3 seconds, and these have charges that you refresh back at base. You stand on the pad and it starts building the harvester. Once it's building, you can leave it, and then it will start to gather CXP over time once built. They give a fair amount when they're filled up. They give about 300 CXP per each team member globally, so that's why it's comparable to like Old Dragon League, where it's your gold gain objective. And you should control these as much as you can and try and have as many as possible, because they can snowball your team or get them back into the game when needed. The Prime Harvester fills twice as quick, so it's thus twice as valuable. You should really try to control this harvester. If you have that harvester and they have the left and right, it's equivalent, so as long as you empty it when it's full. So it's a very powerful objective, and generally you need to keep these harvesters under control. You can kill enemy harvesters. They take a while to kill early game, but if you invest a few people in it early, you can really slow down their advantage. So, with each MOBA, there are heroes, of course. As you can see right here, this is the hero screen for Paragon. You'll pick your hero before you play. We'll go over all the UI and everything, the game menus, on the next video. So, we'll start with general hero roles. You probably know, if you've ever played other MOBAs, that you have support, and you have carries, and you have tanks, and fighters, and assassins, and mages, that sort of idea. So if I go over each character and just give you a basic rundown, and compare them to some other heroes. So you've got Decker. Decker is primarily a support. You see a couple of people build a caster, but she's mainly a support. You can see basic overview of abilities here, but she has a stun, she has a little jump that gives move speed to everyone. That's a primary auto attack, that's a stun. And then she has her slow bubble, which is a big AoE slow and then does damage when it pops. And then the containment fence, which is like a Jarvan ult, if you will, from League of Legends, where she doesn't have to jump on them, she just places it. And as of now, it doesn't give a shield to everyone inside like it used to, but it lasts a fair amount of time. You can shoot for it, they can't. Basic overview of her. We'll go into more detail in her individual video. For fighters, we have someone like Feng Mao. Feng Mao is rather durable, can dish out a lot of damage, especially when built with crit. Has a very powerful auto attack, he has a shield, he has a dash, he has an AoE slow, and he has a massive AoE damage that also gives him a small shield as his ultimate. So he's very, very powerful in the sense that if he gets next to you, he's going to deal a fair amount of damage, he's not going to die very quickly. He's only got the dash and slow. If you can get rid of those, and also if he uses the dash, he has no escape as well. That is generally his weakness. So, CC, knock him back, anything like that, there you go. That's a fighter. Their roles tend to be initiating, or going on the back line of the carries. Then we have Gadget, who's generally classed as support, but she's probably a caster now with the recent changes to her damage, so she does want more damage. She has a slow, she has a sort of mine, she places it on someone, blows up after a certain amount of time. Speed gate speeds up allies, does damage to enemies in it, and her ult is just lots of damage in the area that she places. Generally a caster, sort of mage character if you want to play that. Gideon, caster for sure. Generally transitions into a support utility tanky initiator late game. So initiator is in, you go in first and start the fight. Tanky is in, he won't die so quickly, he'll be rather durable later on. And utility is more helping allies out by slowing down enemies, speeding allies up, providing like teleports and movement and fights. That's what utility generally would mean. So he has a standard auto, he has a slow, he has an AoE wave clear, which is really useful, he has a teleport, which he can use, and bear in mind when you see this used, allies can also use it too, enemies cannot, so you can jump into it and teleport with him. Stays for a few seconds. Then Black Hole, which if you've seen in Dota 2, you've got Enigma, is basically he'll just pull everyone around him towards him and do a lot of damage. He also gets a sling shield, and he's actually immune to crowd control, so you don't have to play something like BKB if you use to Dota. Black King Var. Then we've got Grim.exe, very new. Does a lot of damage, he's a carry, auto-attack carry. You can see that's actually Grim. This is .exe, so that's how the character was made. He has a shield, you can think Sivir Shield, block next incoming ability, gives mana, really powerful. Then you've got Displacement Blast, which is AoE knockback in an area. Can't really compare that to much in other games, but maybe you could think Grag Assault in League. knocks everyone back where you shoot them. And then suppression mode, which is slow on auto attacks, very simple. Shoot them, they get slowed. Uses mana per every shot, it's toggleable. And then his ult is like a Caitlyn ult in League, if you know what a Caitlyn ult is, where you lock onto someone, you fire it, and it will follow them, and it will hit them unless an enemy hero blocks it. It will go through terrain once you've targeted them, and it will go through minions. Very powerful executability. You can always look at the tutorial for each hero overview here. You'll click it, open another window. You can also click on inspect, and you'll be able to see your progression with each hero and some more detail on their abilities. And eventually skins. Then we have Grux. He's another fighter. You can build him rather tanky, or you can build him more damage. Again, same with Feng Mao. Designed to get in there on the backline and deal plenty of damage while not dying instantly. He has an AoE cleave that applies bleed. Bleed is a quite silly mechanic at the moment. It's only for synergy of cards. It doesn't do much damage. It does like 1% of their max health over 5 seconds, which is minuscule. It's a couple damage. You'll see the ticks. It doesn't do very much, but it's meant to stop travel mode going off, and we'll go over travel mode in a future video. And it's also meant to synergize with other cards which have synergy with bleeds, which we'll go on. His Q is like an AoE grab, like if you think Blitzcrank Pool or Pudge Pool. It's an AoE forward one. He has to charge out for a second though, so you can get out of the AoE because you'll see him doing it. He has a charge, he just has a slight delay, then charges forward, gets close to enemies. He has his ult, stuns everyone around him, bleed on auto attack, gets extra damage. Pretty good initiation move. Charge in and ult, grab them, sort of the right idea. And you have Howitzer, he's a caster, again, transitions to a support late game, has his auto attack, has a slow on his right click. On his Q, he just fires a rocket, does damage at very long range, great for picking people off. Landmine knocks everyone back, including himself, so he's able to use it as an escape, but it's very good for displacing enemies and getting them into a bad position. So again, if you think Gragas ult, he can place it and then delay it, so Gragas Q, but then has a knockback effect like his ult. And then his ult, which he goes into the air using the verticality of the game, which you'll see in game when I do videos on the actual gameplay, where you will fly up into the sky, so they have to aim up if they want to hit you, and then you can have a few seconds where you want to place an AoE, which will do damage over time. The last tick of the ult will do the most damage, it'll do half the damage. You can fly back down in the direction you want. You can also use your Q to stop mid-air while flying down and fire that, so you can stay in the air a bit longer. Then we have Iggy. Iggy is also a caster, he's recently added. He has a basic attack which applies Burn, which is again like Bleed but has less synergy. You have Oil Trail, which speeds him up, and the trail can be ignited and applies the burn. You have Flame Turret, which is his bread and butter ability. If you think Heimerdinger, places turrets, they do damage to things around them, a lot of damage, used for wave clear and general area control in team fights. Then you have Oil Trap. Oil Trap, he throws out a little bit of oil at decent range, he throws an auto attack, or if he's got his right click placed on it and hits the trail behind him, then that will ignite it and it will do a bunch of damage. It's his little burst ability in lane and farm ability if he needs to clear a wave quicker. His ult, he fires a big cone of damage over time, decent amount of damage, and at the end knocks them back. It's pretty powerful for team fighting and follow-up initiation on top of something like a Grux or Steel ult, which we'll go over. And then we have Kalari. Kalari's an assassin. She gets on the backline and one-shots a carry and then disappears. That's the general idea. She has a pretty weak auto attack, but she can backflip, so she again uses the verticality, jump around. She has a stealth. We'll talk about the shadow plane in a future video. It's not exactly pure stealth, but it functions the same way as stealth in other MOBAs, if you know how they work. She sort of functions in a little bit like Shaco in League of Legends, if you think of it like that without the blink, but a backflip instead. If you kill someone, you get to lower the cooldown. She has her dagger, which again, like Shaco, that's how it works, but it doesn't apply slow, it does a ton of damage, and applies bleed. The ult is she dashes forward, does lots of damage in that line. That's about it, but it's very powerful. So much damage, you can one-shot a carry with it late game if you built properly. That's what she's designed to do, get up behind them, throw dagger, ult, disappear herself, and backflip. That's her job. She's the only assassin in the game at the moment, so if you're looking for assassins, this is the one to play. Bear in mind, very difficult. She's listed as expert. She's probably the hardest character to play properly, and we'll go over that in her specific video. Then we have Murdoch, another carry. He does energy damage and auto attack like Grim. We'll go over the physical damage ones later. Every hero has a specific damage type, and they will only deal that specific damage type. I probably should have gone over that earlier. So Murdoch's pure energy damage, Kalari's pure physical damage, Iggy's pure energy damage and such. They'll only deal that type of damage, so if you build armors against that, that's how you counter them. So if you have a really fed Murdoch, build energy armor against it, and that'll help you protect yourself against them. So he has his basic attack, very powerful and though it scales very well. His right click is a shield. It blocks damage, doesn't block much damage, but, you know, a fair amount. But if they get close to you, you can activate it again, knock them back, and do some damage, which is very powerful against someone like Feng Mao, who can use his teleport forward. You knock him back, then he's got no teleport, he's a sitting duck. So that's the general idea of Feng Mao's weak initiation in that sense. Unless, of course, he misses the shield, then he's probably going to die without sufficient PO from a support or a tank. Then you have his Q. His Q is Buckshot. It just does AoE damage in front of him, in a cone, and reduces their energy armor. It's a pretty standard ability. Static Trap, he places a trap on the floor. You can think Caitlyn traps in that sense, but it applies it slow rather than snares, and does some damage to anyone that walks over it. Very good for cutting off small little choke points if you're being chased, or you don't want to avoid being ganked in lane. And then his ult is basically a Lux ult if you played League. So, fires a big beam anywhere through terrain, and does lots of damage, hits minions, does hit structures for a tiny amount, not very much, and late game about 5% of their core's HP, which is essentially their Nexus in League, or Ancient in Dota. And that's about it for Murdoch. And then Muriel, who is probably, you know, your main support style, because Decker can be played a bit more caster, but Muriel is a very pure support. She is all about shielding, so she has extra health regen on her shield, so she heals people that she shields, but only for a small amount. So her right click is just, she throws an orb, it's very long range, like can throw massive distances from one tower to the next. It's a very, very powerful ability. It gives a big amount of shielding, gives them extra move speed, just for one person that it hits. Very good ability, you need to make use of it. Buff up your carries, get them out of bad positions. Your Q is just a, you know, you throw an orb again, but not as long range, but it slows and does some damage. Okay ability for chasing, and then Consecrated Ground, that's her AoE shield. It places shields on everyone. When it pops, it actually does damage to enemies, so good for wave clear in a sense, but generally place it on your allies for shields over enemies for damage, because 120 shield is more valuable than 60 damage, especially as it's easier to place on more allies, because you have to wait for the pop if you want to do damage. Her ult is like a Shen ult. If you've played League, Shen ult is amazing. You can be one side of the map and your ally can be on the other. You can just ult, target them, you'll fly all the way over and give them a big shield, and knock any enemies up when you land. So she's essentially a support version of Shen, in that sense. Then we'll move on to the tank of the game, the main tank, Rampage. He's the tankiest thing in the game. He basically has double health regen from his passive, if he's low HP. Has his auto attack, he has a pounce. It's only a short range leap and does some damage, does extra damage if they're wounded. It's okay ability. His Q, boulder throw. He throws a boulder, he can go very long range, stuns, does damage. Very powerful ability. One of the only targeted stuns next to Deckers. And then his Roar, which gives everyone near him and himself move speed, which is okay, but the main function of this is that it increases his pounce range massively. So he's very mobile in that sense and can easily get on a backline by doing the Feral Roar and the leap. And the thing with this is it combos with his ult. When he ults, he gains a ton of HP, extra damage for a decent amount of time. He becomes huge, so he can block auto attacks and peel for his carries in that sense. And you can activate and drop out of it whenever you want, but generally you want to stay in as long as possible to abuse the extra damage. So when you activate it, it resets the pounce cooldown, it will refresh most of your HP and give you the extra max health. You also get the max range leap from the Feral Roar leap when inside the ult duration. So you can do a Feral Roar leap, you can ult, you can do some damage, and you can leap back out of the same range. And that's Rampage. He's a right pain to deal with. Tankiest thing in the game, very disruptive. Severog, another tank, he functions a bit differently. He can go on the back line, use his ult, and it's basically an AoE Leeson ult, we'll go in a sec. And he can also peel for carries if necessary, so he can stay on top of the carry and keep them alive. So he has his basic auto attack, he has his dash, which is just a short range dash, goes through enemies, unlike other dashes, so it can be body blocked the other ones, but his goes straight through. Kind of the weakest dash in the game, but it's not bad because of how his ult functions. His Q, it's like Nasus, so if you know Nasus in League of Legends, it's a good comparison. When he gets a stack by killing a creep with his Q, or a hero with his Q, he gains a tiny bit of HP, and every 20 stacks, up to 80 stacks, he gets a big burst of HP, and extra damage on the Q. So it is infinitely scaling, and he gains free health per stack, but primarily you want to get the 20, 40, 60, 80 big bonuses. And he also gets a visual upgrade, which looks really cool. As you can see from his picture, he's got big shoulder pads, he gets those as he farms souls in-game. It does a lot of damage late game, allows him to deal consistent DPS while being very tanky. His Subjugate, that's his E. He places down a circle. After a second, it will do some damage and root any enemies hit. It's his chase ability, it's his peel ability, it's quite long range, very useful as a tank. And it's ult, if you know Lee Sin, he's basically got an AoE Lee Sin ult. If they come towards your carries and you don't want them near them, you just say no, you bash them away, they go flying away. It's a very long distance, it's AoE, so you can hit multiple people with it. If you get on their back line, you can hit their carries and knock them towards your team and put them in a bad position. It does extra damage, as you can see, which he gets from souls. Then we move on to Sparrow, the first physical damage carry. She has a very powerful auto attack. She's all about auto attacking, so you'll build cards to reflect that, as we'll see in her build. She has piercing shot, which is a right click. It does less damage than her auto attack generally, but it's very long range, goes through enemies and terrain, and it's good for picking people off in travel mode. And that's about its main use. It's wave clear for minions, picking people off in travel mode, maybe finishing people off late game. Hail of arrows. Places an AoE, does damage over time, very basic ability, can cut off choke points with it, farm minion waves with it. She has her E, which just gives her a bit of attack speed for free shot. That's okay late game, but it's basically a weaker version of Twin Blast Q, which we'll go over soon. But it fits her with her ult, which basically, every shot instead, she'll fire 3 arrows when you activate this for 10 seconds, and the side arrows deal less damage than your main auto attack, at least up to 90% when you've maxed it out at level 15. And they do a fair amount of damage, and late game they can crit as well, which we'll go over crits, and very powerful in team fights. You can hit 3 targets at once, you can't shotgun them, so if you stand next to them and all 3 targets arrows hit a target, the main arrow will be the only one doing damage, so you want to hit multiple people with it. It also allows you so that if people are dodging you a lot, if you activate your ult, they will get hit by side arrows if they're dodging you, and this works well for Invigorate, her E, because she can activate for the attack speed storage when she ults and get some shots off quicker. Then we go to Steel, another tank in the game, but he also functions a bit as a support, so he's not the best tank in my opinion. I'd say Rampage is better, but he's basically just there for peel and hard engage. He's one of the best engagers in the game. So he has his right click, which most people wouldn't take. It just gives him extra physical armor, energy armor, makes his hitbox a bit bigger so he can body block a bit easier, but it's not a very useful point. You may only take one, you might not even take it at all. Then he's got his charge, which is very good. It's good for wave clear, knocks enemies back that he hits, does damage. He can charge people into the enemy team, he can charge tank into his own team, like carries into his own team. He can charge the enemy tanks back away from his own carries for peel, so it's very powerful and versatile in that sense. He's also got his shield, which again, in the same way as versatile, he can put it on enemies and it will slow them. So it puts a big wall up, enemies walk through it, get slowed, any allies that get through it get shielded, enemies also can't shoot through the wall, so it acts as a physical barrier to them in that sense, but they can walk through, but they get slowed, so just projectiles will get blocked, so it can be used defensively or offensively in that sense for the slow. And his ult is basically places it, he jumps forward, does a big AoE stun and lots of damage after a delay. He has to jump up and do it. So you can see it coming, but it's pretty hard to dodge as long as he places it directly on top of you if you don't have a dash or anything available or some sort of leap to get out of it. So it's a very hard initiation move. He can use it to peel for carries if he has to jump on the tanks quickly, but you'll generally use it to jump on their carries and disrupt them and engage and allow your team to deal lots of damage while they're CC'd. Then we have Twin Blast, the second carry, physical damage carry, and the last character on the list. He functions the same way as Sparrow, but less AoE, more single target. He has the fastest attack speed in the game. He's all about shooting fast, because he has 2 guns, of course. I mean, that's quite obvious, right? For sure. That's why it's called on a roll and double shot. So, you know, shoots twice. Then he has his dash, very simple. If you think Lucian in League, it's just a quick dash in a direction. Very basic. Very powerful in this game, because mobility is very strong, especially on a carry. He has his Nitro, which, as I said, is basically a better form of Sparrow's E, because it lasts a bit longer, but it also gives a bit more attack speed late game. Early on it's a bit weaker, though. You won't even notice it. You want to max it, but you shouldn't use it much early on. You mainly rely on your Rocket Dash and his E, which is Grenade. He throws a grenade after a delay, does some damage, and slows enemies. Very basic. You can use it for wave clear later on. Early on you just want to use it for the slow and disrupting travel modes and chases. His ult, he turns his arms into big, well, cannons basically, and fires a barrage of rockets, so instead of his normal auto attack, and it's over a certain amount of time, it's not a certain amount of rockets, so the more attack speed you build, the more shots you'll get off with the rockets. They deal a flat amount of damage, they can't crit, so it's very powerful early game in that sense. You'll do a lot more damage than your basic auto attack, but then later on it will start to fall off because crits will become more valuable, and it also makes you a bit immobile because you can't dash while using it, and you're slower moving while using it, so you want to use it mainly for killing minion waves late game. And that's every hero. So you got your general roles, you got your support, help your carries out, keep them alive. You got your carries who do lots of damage, generally ranged, just keep back at a distance. Fighters who go in, warriors if you're snipe, and disrupt carries, kill carries, generally quite durable. You got casters who are generally utility AoE damage in fights. Then you got tank to initiate and peel, and are generally really durable. And that's all the roles in Paragon. So you'd pick your favourite. Oh no, you got Assassin, sorry, and Kalari, the only assassin in the game whose job is to kill a carry, but she's quite weak at the moment in that sense because she's the only assassin, and it's quite easy to pick her off because of her weak form of stealth and mobility, and the fact that she's the only melee in the game that is very squishy and dies very quickly. So, gotta bear that in mind. So those are your roles. You pick your favourite, and that is all the hero roles in Paragon. That's how the map works, and that is how Paragon is a MOBA. Next video I will be going over how the heroes interact with the map, all the menus, and general deck building. So, I hope you enjoyed, and leave a like if you think this video is good and you want more in the future of Agoraphobia. I'm going to continue the series, it's on every Tuesday and Thursday. And thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment if you have any additional things to add to the video that you want to see in the future, any specific mechanics in the game, or if you didn't understand anything clearly, and I'll do my best to explain in the comments or next video. Thank you very much for watching.